Joining us now on the program is Rebecca Sheena, an account executive at Meadowbrook Insurance Agency. Rebecca, thank you for joining us today.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you on. So October is Car Care Month, and in addition to addressing, of course, proper vehicle maintenance, it's a good time to review your insurance policies. What are some of the common issues that you and other professionals in the insurance industry are seeing pop up right now that people should be addressing, or just basic ways? Better yet, let's start with that. Just basic ways that people can maintain their vehicle and ultimately, by doing that, maintain good standing with their insurance.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the number one thing that we see as insurance agents is that we don't hear from our insureds enough about their policies and the type of coverages they think is best for their vehicles. So, one of the things that I always like to just right off the bat recommend to people is having those conversations with your insurance agent, checking in with them maybe, when you're purchasing a new policy, purchasing a new vehicle, or when you're going out to renew, just reaching out, having those conversations with them to see, what works best for you. And obviously, to make sure that you're maintaining your vehicles and proper maintenance, we always recommend doing inspections on the vehicles, making sure your tire pressure is correct, making sure that the engine maintenance light isn't always running and on, just so you can avoid potential hazards in the future. So, talking with your agent, maintaining your vehicle, making sure that everything looks good, those are my best recommendations for my clients.
Yeah, I just had a situation with my car, and I was driving around a few weeks ago. I went to put on the AC on a hotter day, and I was hearing a rumbling. So I'm like, okay, that's obviously not normal. I'm going to shut off the AC, roll the windows down, and deal with whatever heat was there, and I'll check it out later on. Went under the hood, couldn't really get to any of the AC systems. Figured it was internal, and I was already needing to go in for regular maintenance. Added that to the docket, and here I go finding out that in some newer vehicles, which was really a bigger problem at the beginning of the pandemic, rodents such as squirrels, rats, otherwise, may build nests in some of these
Yeah.
vehicles, and they had actually built a nest right near the
Oh
AC and the
no.
heating system. So it's a great time. So luckily, I had spoken over those kinds of issues when I had purchased the vehicle, and at least the vehicle, with my insurance agent, and had that covered in my policy. But that's one of the things to discuss, especially if you live in an area that has a little bit more woods, a little more wildlife around, or you're going to be in an area. Certainly, we're getting into the winter season, and the road conditions are going to be a
Yeah.
lot different, and probably a lot more treacherous, especially those up in the Upper Peninsula. So, where do you suggest people start when they're having those conversations, when they're reviewing their policy, or certainly when they're building a new policy, when they purchase a vehicle or when they lease a vehicle, whatever the case may be, with their insurance agent?
Yeah. So the first thing that I always think is important is discussing your coverages. What you think is most important to you for your vehicle and the deductibles that you want to carry. So if you are somebody who, has a specific thing that they're concerned about or something that they're constantly doing while they're driving and you want to make sure that you are adequately covered. For example, you mentioned you had a little nest in your engine, correct? So that would be covered typically under comprehensive coverage. So if you carry that type of coverage on your policy, you can go back to your insurance company, file a claim, and most carriers should cover that under your comprehensive coverage. So it just goes back to what are some things that are important to you. For example, if you only have one vehicle and that vehicle ends up in the shop due to an accident, you probably need a rental vehicle to drive around in while that vehicle is in the shop. So making sure you have something like rental reimbursement, that's, definitely something that you want to discuss with your agent. Just making sure you have the proper coverages to take care of you in the event of an accident.
And Rebecca, the times we're living in, certainly with gas prices being what they are, and with supplies at repair shops and dealerships being where they're at, it's more expensive than ever to really own a vehicle, or to have a
Yeah.
vehicle that you're driving on the daily. And that's all the more reason why you want to find places that you can save some money, a buck here or two here or there, or significant money. And often we're seeing with insurance companies nowadays, they're putting incentives into these policies that hey, if we can use technology to track your driving and we're aware that
Yeah.
you're not just, keeping your vehicle in decent check and not getting into a bunch of accidents or getting a ton of tickets, but we also know that your driving habits are safe, you can actually save a lot of money there. Talk about that and how much more of a factor that's been recently in the insurance industry and how people can take advantage of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So some carriers out there are offering little devices that can be installed. I think it's like directly below your steering wheel. It's like a little drive wise device that kind of monitors your driving habits. Like how frequently you're braking, your speed limit that you're constantly driving, how many miles you put on your vehicle per year, and they'll offer you a discount for installing that device. But there's tons of other ways that you can get discounts and incentives from your insurance companies. You just want to reach out to your agent and kind of see what options are available for you. For example, if you have a young driver in the household, a good student discount, a lot of carriers offer that. And memberships, if you are an AARP member or you bank with a credit union, for example, those are some additional discounts that some carriers do provide. So again, it's just reaching out to your agent's office, asking them those questions like, hey, is there any way that I can save some money on my insurance? And, hopefully from there, they can guide you in the right direction that can help you out.
We're joined by Rebecca Sheena on today's edition of the Megacast. She's an account executive with Meadowbrook Insurance Agency. Today, more information can be found and to get in contact with the professionals at Meadowbrook Insurance Agency at meadowbrook.com. That is meadowbrook.com for more information and to get in contact with them, ask them any questions that you may have. We mentioned earlier on fall driving conditions. Certainly, the winter driving conditions going to add a factor into Michigan drivers and certainly their safety, but also it should add to their handy fall checklist or winter checklist as they're getting ready to safely drive their vehicle. Make sure, as you said earlier, that the vehicle's all in check before they head out onto the road and potentially have even more issues that may already be present and be able to be found in those checks. What are some of the things that should be on a driver's checklist, certainly this fall season, but also during these treacherous Michigan winters?
Yeah, absolutely. So, things that I recommend maintaining in your vehicle, we definitely want to see some flashlights in there. If you have hazard lights, those are very, very important. Keeping maybe like some extra blankets in the vehicle because you never know with road conditions what could happen. So, anything that you feel would help protect you if you were stranded for any reason, we see a lot of snowfall here in Michigan. So, you just want to be safe while you're out on the road. Things that I personally recommend while you're driving, habit wise, is making sure that you maintain a safe or a large enough distance between the vehicle in front of you, reducing your speed, and even just slowing down when you know that you're about to come to a complete stop are some way that you could potentially prevent an accident from happening. So these are just a few things of many, but we would just always want to make sure that all of our drivers are safe on the road.
Lastly, Rebecca, there's been so many changes in Michigan insurance law over the past several years, specifically surrounding Michigan's no-fault insurance laws. Can you explain kind of some of the basics of those changes and how they are affecting the average Michigan insurance policy, particularly for motor vehicles?
Yeah, so depending on the type of coverage and insured selects, they may see or find lower insurance premiums. But again, it just depends on the type of coverages they select. So the big topic right now is that PIP coverage, and PIP is also known as personal injury protection. It's what pays for all reasonably necessary medical expenses. So if you are involved in an auto accident in the state of Michigan, you can, claim your injuries through your PIP coverage. Previously, every driver in Michigan had to carry unlimited PIP coverage with no lifetime maximum on their policy. But as of July 2020, some new options were introduced. And I think that's the big topic that everyone's discussing right now is, should I be opting in or opting out? So there are four main types of coverages that you can select. You can opt out completely if you're covered through Medicare. You can choose a $50,000 limit if you are covered through Medicaid. And if you have private health care insurance with low enough deductibles, you can choose like a $250,000 limit. And then the final option is you can either choose a $500,000 limit or you can, stick with your unlimited coverage. So these are just conversations that you're going to want to have with your agent's office to figure out, which option works best for you.
You can have a conversation with Rebecca and other agents and professionals at Meadowbrook Insurance Agency with locations in Ann Arbor, Grand Rapids, Jackson, Saginaw, Sarasota, and Southfield by visiting meadowbrookagency.com. That is meadowbrookagency.com for more information. Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.